Why do we have to take care of our father? It is your job as the poor couple to take care of the elderly, so why don't you all stick with each other? With these words, my sister forced us to take care of her father. I'm sorry for all the trouble I have caused you two. I didn't tell you, but the truth is... My father, sick and frail, told us the shocking truth as he lay in bed. My name is Kevin. I'm 27 years old and I work in a factory. I've been married to my wife, Jane, for exactly 1 year. We are newlyweds and we are very close and happy. Jen and I met through a friend. I think you both would be a good match. So, my friend, Jane, and I met up. I was immediately attracted to her. She is kind, has a cute little face that scrunches up when she smiles, and we're on the same wavelength when we talk. She was also attracted to me. I like your voice and your energy, and I feel very comfortable with you. I don't feel like I've met anyone like you before. I was very happy to hear her say that, and I felt like I've always known her. We started seeing each other right away and started dating. We had a really good chemistry and just enjoyed being together, so we decided to get married very quickly. We got married just 1 month after we started dating. I am sure that it is very fast in general, but for us, it was more than enough time. She and I have the same taste in food, and she does her share of the housework. She has lived alone for a long time, so she can cook and clean well. So, I am living a stress-free life. I work hard at a factory. I'm a very good cook, probably because I am very good with my hands, and she loves my cooking very much. Because we get along very well, my wife and I were living very peacefully and happy days. As we were having a good time like that, the months went by quickly, and soon, a year had passed since we got married. I thought that Jane and I would continue to get along well and spend happy days together, but something unexpected happened. However, something unexpected happened. My father collapsed. He is now 70 years old, and it seems that his body has been worn out from all the physical work he has done since he was a young man. He is now in need of nursing care, and we have decided to discuss with my in-laws how to take care of my father. However, it is really a talk among the four of us. My wife and I, and my sister Leah and her husband. My mother had already passed away several years ago, so it was necessary for us, the children, to discuss about our father, who lives alone at home. However, I was not very keen on this discussion, because I was not very fond of my sister. She is 32 years old, 5 years older than me, and she made fun of me and Jane every time we met. I wonder how she could be so fond of marrying my brother who works in a factory. But when I heard that she was a lowly office worker, I understood. She is so different from me. I'm a college graduate and an office worker, and Jane is a college graduate as well, but you two are, how should I put it, are a couple of the lowest class. Loser is a good word to describe you. My sister made such a comment when Jane and I were meeting each other's parents. At that time, both Jane and I were absolutely stunned. My parents looked at my sister with wide eyes. If my father had not immediately yelled at her, the atmosphere would have been quite terrible, so neither Jane nor I wanted to talk to my sister. But we knew we had to have a proper discussion about my father, so we contacted my sister. The only time we could decide what to do as a family was now, when my father was in the hospital. When we called my sister and her husband, saying that we had something important to discuss with them, they came over to us with a very troublesome look on their faces. The moment they arrived, Matt swore at us, saying, "We don't have time for this, so don't bother calling." I knew that if I reacted to him, I would lose, so I let it pass and got right down to business. I think you know that our father has fallen ill and that he will need care in the future, so now we need to discuss who will take care of Dad from now on. My sister looked at me with wide eyes and said, "Why do we have to take care of him? We don't want to. We don't want to live with an old, dying man every day." I couldn't believe my ears. He's her father too, and now that our mother was gone, he was our only parent. How could she call him an old man? Leah, you can't talk like that. Our dad took great care of us, right? It's only natural for parents to do that. A parent who doesn't care about his or her children is a scumbag. If you just listen to the words, they sound powerful and righteous, but Leah was just really ungrateful. It is your job as the poor couple to take care of the elderly. It's just fine for you to stay with each other. You are all living a low life. You are living a life of obscurity, and Dad is an old man who is just going to die. You have nothing to worry about but each other, so why don't you get to know each other better by complaining about all kinds of things? With these words, my sister forced us to take care of our father. That's enough. We will take care of him. We can't leave it to you. We won't do it, even if you leave it to us. We don't have time to deal with that old man. Caring for him is a job for poor people like you who have time to do it. I hope you finally understand the difference in our positions." As usual, she is still a very bad person. She is very concerned about her educational background and title, and she is very harsh to those who have a lower status than her. Jane, too, was disgusted by my sister's comments. "I already understand. You disliked our father so much, didn't you?" "Of course I did. He had a lowly job and was a very poor father." "So, what if civil servants have a modest job?" "It's dull for me. I'm in the planning and development department of our company, and every day I'm trying to come up with new ideas and plans. For a creative person like me, Dad's job is boring, just like you guys who work in a factory and have an office job." Leah always seems to have to end the conversation by cursing us. Leah's husband is like a dog, just smirking and nodding at her comments. We finally just let Leah's bad words slide and ended the discussion. Later that day, we went to Dad and reported that we would be moving in with him and taking care of him. He was very apologetic about the trouble he was causing. "I'm so sorry. You both just got married, too." Dad apologized saying that, but neither I nor Jane cared about that. He was a very kind man, so I had no qualms about moving in with him. "Oh, Dad, don't worry about that." "Yes, we talked it over and decided to move in with you." "Thank you both so much." Thus, we moved into my parents' house and started living together with Dad. I said I would cut my hours at the factory and focus on caring for him. Jane took care of the housework, and the rest of the caregiving was done with a good balance of support from both of us. Dad was very happy to be living with us because he had been alone since my mother passed away. "I'm very happy to be able to share a meal with you like this. Thank you so much, you two." Dad is a very kind and disciplined person. He always expresses his gratitude to us in this way, so it was no hardship for me and Jane to take care of him. However, contrary to her thoughts and feelings, his health got worse and worse. One day, we took him to the hospital because he was having a hard time, and the doctor made an unexpected comment. "It seems your father has cancer." "What?" It was so sudden for us. We had worked so hard to take care of him, but we had no idea that he had cancer. We were hoping that Dad would have surgery if possible. If it would prolong his life, we wanted him to have it done. But then Leah and her husband intervened. When we explained Dad's condition, Leah, of all people, insisted that he should not undergo the surgery. When I asked her why, she replied, "Because if we pay for the surgery, our inheritance will be reduced. He's old and dying anyway, so there's no reason to waste money." This was the last straw for both Jane and me. "That's enough. That's a very strange thing for you to say. Are you still a human being? You're a money-grubbing and self-serving person. I'm sure Dad and Mom must have been very embarrassed to have you as their daughter." When I said that, Leah's face turned red and she got angry. "What kind of uneducated person like you are talking to me like that? They must have been so proud to have a child as talented as me. It is you who should be ashamed of yourself. Why don't you at least flatter Dad and make him like you for the last time?" "That's enough. I guess there is nothing I can say to you." Our discussions with Leah and her husband always end up like this, so we decided to stop the discussion and decided that we would discuss with Dad and decide everything about the future. When I informed him about our discussion with Leah and her husband, he sighed deeply. "She always used to think she was better than everyone else by belittling them. I've tried to warn her about that many times, but I guess she hasn't changed. I know that this is a reflection of her lack of self-confidence, but she has to live with it herself, and no matter how much people tell her, it won't reach her ears." Dad's words made my heart and Jane's heart ache. He had been thinking about Leah and treating her with love, but why had she become so twisted? After that, Dad was hospitalized, but Leah and her husband did not come to visit him at all. Jane and I went to the hospital every day to check on him and to enjoy casual conversation, but day by day, he became weaker and weaker. I wanted nothing to do with Leah, but she was very important to Dad, so I would give her updates each time I saw her. However, Leah never responded to me, and she never came to visit after that. Then, Dad's health finally reached its limit, and he had very little time left to live. Jane and I realized that his end was near. Then one day, Dad said he wanted to talk to us. Jane and I sat down in our chairs and looked at him. "I'm sorry about all the trouble you two have been going through. I didn't tell you, but the truth is..." Dad, sick and weak, lay in bed and told us the shocking truth. "Oh my God, is that true? Please accept this as my thanks to both of you." We were very surprised. At first, we were reluctant to accept it, but Dad insisted, so we decided to accept it. Later, when we went to visit him, we were talking with him in his hospital room as usual when Leah and her husband came in looking flustered. "Hey, what's this inheritance stuff about? How much will you give us?" Leah and her husband were not shy about coming to us when they heard we were talking about their inheritance. Jane and I were both inwardly dismayed that they had never come to visit Dad before, but this was our plan, too. Dad explained the inheritance to Leah. "There's only about $5 million of my assets in that family home." When Gerald said that, Leah said, "We get the $5 million, and those two get the house, right?" Leah said before Gerald could finish. "They lived in that shabby house, didn't they? They should inherit it and live in it." Leah again made a condescending remark to us. Then Dad said, "I see. Well then, it can't be helped. Even though that house is old, it's in a pretty good location, and according to the appraisal, it's going to sell for over $15 million. Leah and her husband's eyes widened at those words. "You should have told us that kind of thing quickly. We'll inherit the house. We'll give you $5 million. You have no problem with that, do you?" Leah glared at us. I sighed and said, "I don't need it. Do what you want," I replied coldly. Leah and her husband started grinning. "Let's buy a luxury car with the money from the sale of the house." They were talking about something like that. How inappropriate for Dad to hear, who was not even dead yet. After the discussion about the inheritance, Leah and her husband quickly left. Dad looked a little sad to see Leah's money grubbing and her lack of concern for him. Gerald said, "I'm lucky to have you both, aren't I? Thank you so much." Dad told us with a carefree smile. A week later, he passed away. Jane and I were saddened, but we did everything together from the arrangements and preparations for the funeral. Leah and her husband did not help us, but only attended the ceremony. After the ceremony, they came to us and told us that the house was theirs, and that we should leave as soon as possible. When a person's character is this twisted, nothing you say can change it. I feel sorry for any psychiatrist who will have to deal with this. After that, Jane and I finished sorting out Dad's belongings, packed up our own, and moved out of the house. After we had moved and unpacked, Leah called Jane and said, "Hey, what's going on? I put the house on the market and it's not even worth $100,000. Leah sounded very upset. I calmly replied, "Oh, I see," I said. "What the heck? I took it because Dad said it would sell for over $15 million. This is impossible." I put her on speakerphone, but she was shouting so loud that it turned out I didn't need it. "Well, that can't be helped, huh? Dad just accidentally made a mistake. It was you who insisted on inheriting the house, so it's your own fault. Why don't you just move into the house?" "I'm not going to live in this shabby house." "Then you'll have to sell it for $100,000. "I don't agree with you. You should share the $5 million you inherited with us." "What are you talking about now? Leah, have you forgotten? We signed a memorandum of understanding that neither of us can demand any share of what we inherited later. So whatever we got from Dad will never belong to you." "How could this happen?" The junior manager was ranting over the phone, but I really think it's a good thing. I had nothing more to say, so I quietly hung up and blocked Leah's number. By the way, it was not only $5 million that we received from Dad. In fact, he told us in his hospital room that the inheritance was more than $50 million. However, considering the residual portion of the estate, a large sum of money would be given to Leah, who had treated him so poorly. So, Dad suggested that he purchase the condo and put it in my name. Jane and I said no way, but he insisted that we take it as a token of his appreciation, so we agreed to take a room in the condo from him. He immediately purchased the $50 million condo unit in one lump sum and put it in my name. I didn't tell Leah about that, so she would not know. So she and her husband inherited only the family home. They probably still think we are unfortunate poor people, but we are now living in a much more comfortable space than Leah and her husband will live in. By the way, Leah thought that I was just a factory worker, but I am good with my hands and I like working in a factory, and I also make and sell my own leather bags and other products. Recently, I have been making more money than Leah and her husband because my sales are much better, but we are not going to tell Leah and her husband about this. It doesn't make any sense for us to one-up them like that. Rather, we have decided to stop having anything to do with Leah and her husband and concentrate on our married life. We feel much happier that way. Today, we are going to spend another pleasant day thinking about each other. The less confident people are, the more they try to preserve their self-esteem by comparing themselves to those around them and beating up those they think are lower than them. But I think that such people are the ones who never succeed. I think that because Kevin and Jane are not bound by such things, they are led to good fortune and success. I hope they will continue to live happily as a close couple. Thank you for watching. How did you like today's story? Please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next story.